We can go to the hill to be alone, walking among the plum trees or the vines and talk to the child inside. My dear brother, young brother, my dear young sister, I know you suffer. You are my inner child. I am your grown-up adult. I am your adult self. I am you. And I would like to talk to you. That we have grown together to be an adult already. This is the fact, you see. We have become an adult. We are no longer a vulnerable child. Remember that. We have grown up into an adult. We have the capacity to take care of ourselves. We can protect ourselves. We can survive easily, like everyone. Why continue to worry like that? Why continue to be fearful like that? That will spoil everything. So please take my hand, let us walk together. Let's enjoy every step. We should really talk to the child inside aloud. Not just thinking, just do it. And you may like to talk to your inner child every day. And the healing will take place. And your child will join you in your new life. The Buddha spoke about the practice of samtusta. Samtusta means you are satisfied with the conditions of life that you are having. You have already had enough conditions to be happy. And that is thanks to mindfulness. You don't need more. It's possible to have no more desire. It is possible to have no more desire. My little house in the upper hamlet is good enough, it's beautiful enough. I don't need a bigger. I have many big windows that I consider to be my television screen. Big screens. And the landscape in the upper hamlet looking to the east is so beautiful. Please come and visit my hut one day when you are in the upper hamlet. It is possible to have no more desire. If you already feel safe, if you have mindfulness, you recognize that you have plenty of conditions to be happy already. You don't need to run into the future and get a few more conditions. We have seen people without diplomas, but they are very happy. We have seen many people without a big house, a big car, and they are perfectly happy. So samtusta means you recognize that you have enough conditions to be happy right here and right now. And you can sing Qu'est-ce qu'on attend pour être heureux? Tri túc. Enough. I know this is enough. I don't want to run anymore. I don't want to get anymore, anything more. This is enough for me. That is the teaching of Buddha. Once you adapt that style of living, trituk, samtusta, you become a happy person right away. Samtusta has been translated by some friends as realizing that one is satisfied with a few things, a little with little. I'm afraid that this not correspond to the word tuk. Tuk means sufficient, enough, and maybe more than enough. Because when you go home to the present moment and you pass in review all the conditions of happiness that you have, you might find that they are more than enough for you to be happy right now. And that is the style of life recommended by the Buddha. Stop running. You don't need to have more desire. Stop desiring. Because even if you get the object of your desire, you will not be happy because you will run after another one. And how to adopt this wisdom in our modern life? Because people still have that kind of thinking, concept. You are happy only when you got a lot of money, a lot of power to be happy. And many people believe like that. And looking around, we see many people who have plenty of money, who have plenty of power, but they suffer very deeply of stress, of loneliness, and many of them commit suicide. So power, money, desire is not the answer. We have to educate ourselves. We have to educate our people, the art of living with the teaching of samtusta. We can be happy right here and right now. And this is what the Buddha told a group of businessmen who came to see him. In the Plum Village Chanting book, there is a sutra with the title, the sutra given to the white-clad disciple. Because the monastic are the brown-clad people, or but the lay people, white-clad people. Anattapinika is a businessman, was a businessman. And it is him who offered the Buddha the first practice center for the monks in the city of Shravasti. And he was a good practitioner. He came to every Dhamma talk. He tried to persuade his children to come to the Dhamma talk. And his family was a happy one because they know how to profit from the Dharma. There was one time when there was a recession, and he also suffered of bankruptcy, but he did not suffer because he had been so generous. He had been helping many lonely, destitute people in the country, that they gave him the noble title Anattapindika. Anattapindika is the one who offers help to lonely, destitute people. His real name is Sudatta. So the beautiful name Anattapindika was given him by his own people. So in that time of bankruptcy, he did not suffer, and he had so many friends coming to help him to rebuild his business. And one day, he brought to the Buddha many hundreds of businessmen. They came and visited the Venerable Shariputra. Because Shariputra was a very deep, very good friend of Anattapindika. Shariputra walked with him from Rajagraha to Sravasti, and they become very close friends. After that, Shariputra brought all of them to the Buddha. And the Buddha gave that discourse, the Dhamma talk, that is available in the Chanting book, the sutra given to the white, black people. The Buddha knew that businessmen, they are very busy. They are concerned about their success. They may not have time to live their life with their family. So in that sutra, the Buddha taught the businessmen the teaching, the art of living, called Dhammaditthi Sukha Vihara. It is possible to be happy, to live happily in the present moment. Hiện pháp lạc trú. It is possible to live happily in the present moment. The Sanskrit is Drista, Dharma, Sukha, Vihara. Living happily in the present moment. You don't need to run in the future. You don't need to have more success. You are successful enough like that. And the expression Drista Dhamma Sukha Vihara was repeated 5 times in the discourse. So that is a good medicine for Anattapindika. Unfortunately, Frederick did not have a chance to listen to that Dharma talk. And if you have a friend who is in business circle, offer her that discourse, so that he or she will not step into the footsteps of Frederick. Bring insight, bring knowledge to him, to her, so that they have a chance to stop and live their life. And I think this is the teaching that our time need, our society need, because everybody is running like a madman. Nobody is able to live relaxedly and enjoy the present moment. Everyone is so stressful. And because everyone is practicing wrong decisions. They are very diligent, yes, very industrial. Shall we have a session of question and answer tomorrow? Please. So we shall have a session of question and answer tomorrow. Today we have a session of questions and answer. And we are encouraged to ask the question of our heart. Questions that have to do with our practice, with our training. Questions that have to do with our suffering, our happiness. Let us avoid intellectual exercise. And those of us who have a question like that, a question of the heart, are invited to come here and sit close to Thầy. And you will take turn to sit on this chair so that everyone can see you before you ask the question. Before asking the question, we all breathe in and out 3 times with the sound of the bell. This is an ideal Dharma hall. Thầy planted the 4 pine trees 27 years ago for you. And this is the first question.
Dear Thai, is it on? Dear Thai, can you hear me? Dear community, my question is about the practice of right diligence. I'm aware that I have the habit of repression and that I have a preference for flowers over compost in many situations. And this creates some confusion in me with the practice of right diligence, because I feel that my tendency to repress somehow mixes with my attempts to practice right diligence. And when suffering comes up in me, sometimes I'm able to invite another mental formation, but sometimes I'm just confused as to whether the best thing is to turn my attention to the suffering that is coming up and really be with it and try to accept it and not make it go away. Or whether the best thing to do would be to turn my attention to something that is more joyful. And I would just like some guidance on how to practice with this.
We play the CD, we don't like it, we're going to change the CD, but the CD refused to go. So you have to accept it. But we do not allow the CD to dominate. We don't allow the painful feeling, the unpleasant emotion to take over. So we want to really stay with it and take good care of it. That is the second way of practice. Changing the city is only one of the practices. You have to be really there for it, for your pain, for your sorrow. And it means that you have to be mindful. You have to practice mindful breathing or mindful walking in order to be really there. And with that kind of energy of mindfulness, you recognize the pain, the sorrow that is there, and you embrace it tenderly, like a mother holding her ailing baby. And that is the first practice. If you know how to hold the ailing baby tenderly like that, not fighting, accepting it entirely. My dear pain, my dear little pain and sorrow, I know you are there. I'm here for you. I'm taking good care of you. So you continue with the practice of mindful breathing or mindful walking, and you embrace tenderly that energy of suffering. And first of all, you get a relief, like the baby being held by its mother. Feel the tenderness of the mother penetrating into itself, and the baby get a relief. The same thing is true with your pain. When your pain is embraced by the energy of mindfulness, the energy of mindfulness penetrates into the pain and bring a relief. And those of us who have practiced that always feel like that. So the first is that you get a relief. And if you have more concentration that lead to insight, you begin to understand the nature, the roots of the pain. And it is that insight, that wisdom, that will be able to transform the pain and the sorrow in you. That is why you need to practice mindfulness, to be aware and to acknowledge the pain. Have to accept, practice concentration in order to be fully with it, and looking deeply in order to get the insight. And it will be the insight. It is the insight that will liberate us from pain. So mindfulness, concentration, and insight are the three kinds of trainings that are basic in this practice. So changing city is only one of the practice. And sometimes we have to stay with it, and we have to really deal with it. Thank you.
Dear Thai, dear Sangha, dear brothers and sisters, this is a question regarding the first mindfulness training. As you've said in your Dhamma discourse a couple of days ago, death is acceptable. So I would like to know, regarding the first mindfulness training, under which circumstances and in which context death would be acceptable. So I think in terms of when we eat plants, we can be aware that plants are also sentient beings because they react to the environment. And if you have a grain that is a sprout of a grain and you put it into boiling water, you would have a physical reaction on a certain frequency that we are not able to hear and to listen to, but if you transfer it into the audible frequencies, it would sound like a cry. So what allows us to eat plants and what does us not allow to eat meat, to eat the flesh of animals. And there's another question about first mindfulness training, under which circumstances death is acceptable. When you look at the training, it says we should prevent others from killing. So under certain circumstances, it would mean that it would force us to kill other human beings in order that maybe 10 times more people would be saved. So, as you mentioned, the situation with the dropping of the atomic bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, President Truman was facing up to 3 or 4 or 5 millions of dead people when the Americans had to invade the Japanese mainlands, and they had a fighting just within the cities and within the country. And they had made the experience then that when they were fighting the Japanese on the small islands, they didn't surrender. Almost no single Japanese fighter did surrender to the American troops. And if we want to prevent people to kill others, under which circumstances it would be allowed to kill yourself, or it would be obliged to us to do killing in order to save a huge amount of human beings. So that would be my question.
Could you propose something? You must have an idea in your head. So tell us.
Yeah. My idea is that what we do with the first mindfulness training is we try to reduce suffering as much as we can, and we try to preserve life as much as we can. So from a former life of the Buddha, it is reported that he was, I hope I remember the story well, that he was on a ship and he came to know that the captain of the ship was willing to kill all the passengers. And so even the Buddha took action in killing this captain in order to preserve the passengers of that ship. I might not remember that right, but that's how the history was transferred to me.
He has the answer. And then for the second, the Hiroshima bomb.
But as you just said, don't believe that you have the answer. When you're talking about the first, about the 5 mindfulness trainings, we never have an answer. And I don't know if I have the answer. I think it would be different in a place like this to talk about it, or in the position of President Obama. And what about the situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan? And for that, I don't have any answer.
I think if the question is rightly put, the answer must be found in the question by itself. Applied ethics is a kind of ethics that can be used in special circumstances like that. So there must be an answer. Maybe the answer is not easy, but there must be an answer. And that answer is not obtained by speculation, intellectual debate, but by looking deeply, by insight. Our answer may be shaped by our way of thinking, our desire, and it might not be an answer that expresses the wisdom, the insight. Concerning the atomic bomb, we ask the question as whether it is right to drop the bomb or not. Of course, to drop the bomb may or may not end the war. We cannot know. We cannot be certain about it. But what is something that is certain that is that many people will die. And they must know, they must have known that. And they dropped the second bomb after having dropped the first one. The first one, after the first bomb was dropped, 140,000 people died right away. But the question is more complicated. Maybe those who have a fabricated bomb are eager to see the effect of the bomb. Maybe politicians behind the government wish that after the bomb is dropped, people will say that America is a nation that no nation can defeat, the superpower. So there may be a desire, an attempt to show that America is the most powerful nation. So there may be that kind of thinking, of desire in the mind of the political advisors. And you know that when you are a president, you need a lot of, you have many advisors around you, military and political. And President Obama also has many military advisors and political advisors. And that is why they need a good Sangha that can represent the kind of wisdom and courage that can help the president, for him not to give up his stand. Because when many people say the same thing, talk with the same kind of language, it's very powerful, and you risk to follow the advice. Especially after having debated for many days, you get tired. And you know that President Truman said that after having made a decision, he went to sleep and he slept like a baby. Not because he has his mind peaceful, but because he was so tired. So a big problem like that, you cannot pretend to have the easy answer. You need the collective wisdom, and especially the collective compassion, because an act that can be described as compassionate and wise should have the element of compassion in it. And sometimes you think of only of the consequence, and you think that any kind of means that can achieve that end is good. But in the Buddhist tradition, we know that means and end are the same thing. There is no way to peace. Peace is the way. If the means is not peaceful, it means you are not doing peace. If the way you think, you speak, and you act is not peace, the outcome will not be a real peace. So this is something that we are going to discuss in the next Dhamma talks. And it needs a lot of practice of looking deeply with calm in order to get insight, especially collective insight. You are right when you say that it's not possible to avoid killing. When you boil vegetable to eat, many microorganisms die. So your vegetarian dish is not entirely vegetarian, and also the vegetable also they are living things. But you compare with the suffering of animal, you see that the suffering is less. It's not that there is no suffering, but you choose the way to minimize the suffering. That is why one of our contemplation, the 5 contemplation is let us eat in such a way that you can reduce the suffering of living beings. Not abolish altogether, but reducing. And that is not bad if you can reduce the suffering a little bit every time, every day. And that is why when we receive the 5 mindfulness trainings, we have to continue to study, to learn, to recite, in order to deepen our understanding and experiences on the practice. And we share that with other people. And if we do that as a big community, the insight will grow, and that will profit many people. Thank you. Sister Gina.
Dear Thai, this is a question about suicide. My question is about suicide as a habit energy. I have had many suicides in my family, as well as drug abuse and sexual violence. Sometimes I get overwhelmed with the idea that I do not want to live anymore. Sometimes I feel like I really want to live, but most of the time I'm not attached to my life and the way I manifest right now at all. I'm not sure if this is my habit energy of thinking or if it's quote-unquote normal thinking. I'm mainly worried about being swept away by the idea of not wanting to live because it would be such a tragedy for those around me.
To commit suicide is to choose the easy way. There is suffering, and you don't know how to handle the suffering in you. You don't know how to help handle the suffering around you. So you try not to be there anymore in order to feel better. To commit suicide is an act of despair, not wise, because you think that you will be able to stop being after you die. But that's not true. You continue always in many ways. And if you commit suicide, you continue not beautifully. You continue always after suicide. And that is why we should try to tell our friends who have a suicidal habit that to kill oneself is not really a solution. It is impossible for a cloud to die. A cloud cannot die. A cloud can become rain or snow or hell. But a cloud cannot die. A human being is also like that. So when your mind is not clear, you may think that to die is to stop suffering. Now the suffering will go on. Not only for you, but for other people who care about you. Because there are those who care about you and who suffer. They will lose their hope if you lose your hope. If we carry within ourselves that kind of habit energy of the family, there's one reason more for us to practice. Because if we can transform that habit energy in us, we can end a cycle of samsara for the whole lineage. And our children will not have that kind of tendency anymore. And there must be ways in order to end that kind of habit energy. And there are ways of practice that can help recognize that energy and end that energy. So the teaching of the Buddha on no birth and no death, the teaching of interbeing, the teaching that help us to be in touch with the wonders of life within and around, can help tremendously. And every moment of our daily life can be a wonder. Life is such a gift. And if we have a good environment, if we have a good sangha, if we have good friends surrounding us, and then we have more chance in order to get in touch with that kind of wisdom and practice that help us. It's very kind of you if you are determined to practice. If you can end that habit energy in you, you can end that habit energy of the whole lineage, and you can transform not only for yourself, but for the whole lineage. And that is love, that is compassion. And if you are inhabited by the energy of love, you will not do the things that make people suffer anymore. So practice breathing and walking and recognize that kind of energy, habit energy in you, and tell it that hello there, my habit energy, my intention not to be there anymore. I know you. You have been there for a long time. You have been my friend. I am going to help you. And embrace it and work with it and transform it. We don't have to fight. We have only to recognize and to smile to it. And inside that death and birth into R is very important. Thank you.